Public sector procurement in most countries is tainted with scandals, be it in health sector, educational facilities, just about any tender. And why is that so? Well, there are a number of reasons why that occurs the way it occurs. One such reason is bid rigging. So if you're new here, welcome to Zerite Network. Kindly do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, and so that you can be notified every time we put out new videos, be it in business, law, finance, development. So, subscribe. What is bid rigging? Now, a quick internet search will tell you that bid rigging is a fraudulent scheme in procurement auctions resulting in non-competitive bids and can be performed by corrupt officials, by firms in an orchestrated act of collusion, or between officials and firms. We're talking about suppliers agreeing to limit competition in the procurement process and thereby denying the customer a fair price. It's basically a form of market manipulation because the bidders collude, and in doing so, they decide, the bidders, they decide who gets the tender. How can it occur? Now, there are a number of ways that bid rigging can occur, and the first one is bid suppression. So in this case, the suppliers will collude by either withdrawing their bid, or just saying no bid. And in so doing, the person they wanted to get that tender will be awarded the tender by default. So that is bid suppression. The second way that these can occur is through cover pricing. In this case, the bidders arrange for one of them to submit an artificially high bid, distorting the procurer's impression of the competitive price. Number 3, bid rotation, in which case the firms agree to, through rotation, they agree to take turn to supply lower bids so that one of them will get the bid and then next time another person gets it, and then, it's just bid rotation the way it sounds. So we have bid suppression, cover pricing, bid rotation. Number 4, phantom bidding, which means artificially inflating what legitimate buyers will pay by employing fake bidders who have no intention of winning but can push the price up with their bids. Now, the whole point of suppliers, or in this case the firms or bidders, colluding is so that they can decide among their cabal or cartel, whatever it is, who gets the tender. So that's the reason why they're coming together. I mean, it's like, look, we can make it fair, it's supposed to be fair, or we can organize ourselves so that one of us gets the tender this time, the other person gets the tender at the time. So that's the reason why they do that, through those things that I just mentioned, through cover pricing, through bid suppression, through phantom pricing, all that stuff. Now, why should public sector procurers care about bid rigging? Okay, you're probably watching this and thinking, well, who cares? I mean, if somebody wants to give a bid to some other person, as long as the person can, yeah, sure. But, it could look like if it makes sense, or, well, first, it doesn't really make sense, but it could look like if it's none of your business, if you're talking about in like private sector. But think about public sectors. You see, with public sectors, the rules are different because doing this will mean that it can cost the taxpayer money. Remember, the money that is being spent in public sector is actually as a result of the revenue that was collected through taxes. So for the most part, if we take that money and give it to some guy, we add the tender to some guy who's not really effective, but through rigging, they've managed to get that tender. So we are actually misusing the money because maybe they charge us more than they're supposed to charge us, or maybe they supply something that is not. The point is, it's going to be taxpayer money being used in this case, and the money is not being put into good use. Number 2, it can exclude potentially more efficient competitors from the bidding process since they are not part of the circle. And number 3, it may reduce suppliers' incentive to improve quality or innovate. I mean, if you have a situation where you are guaranteed you're going to get that deal through some game that you've played with other firms, so you don't really have incentive to be creative because no one is going to check that against other firms, How can one spot bid rigging pattern? So if you're part of a team, whose job is to make sure that the procurement process flows smoothly. So some of the things that you need to ensure that are in place, or some of the things that you need to do so that you can spot the whole bid rigging thing and try to nip it at the bud, will include doing things like looking for suspicious things such as, number 1, bids received at the same time or containing similar or unusual wording. Number 2, different bids with identical prices. 3, bids containing less detail than expected. Number 4, the likely bidder failing to submit a bid. Next, the lowest bidder not taking the contract. 6, bids that drop on the entry of a new or infrequent bidder. Number 7, the successful bidder later subcontracting work to a supplier that submitted a higher bid. 8, expected discount suddenly vanishing or other last-minute changes. Number 9, suspiciously high bids without logical cost difference. For example, delivery distances. And number 10, a bidder that betrays discussion with others or has knowledge of previous bids. Now, if you're part of the procurement team in a public sector procurement, you have to ensure that ethics, those things do matter, because in this case, you are dealing with, again, as I said, the public money. And the suppliers are actually going to be motivated to do whatever it takes to get the tender. Because if you have a government as part of your customer, that's a good thing. But then the problem is, how do you do it so that you end up becoming the person who's supplying tenders in public sector? So again, the suppliers are going to do whatever it takes. Now it's your job as the procurement team to ensure that you are smart during the awarding process and educate your team on the bid rigging concepts and detection tactics. So if you have any question, do let me know. I'm Moses from Zerite Network. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.